Hello everybody, welcome to the Roundup, where we look back at all of the games that have come out in this last month that we have played and give you a quick summary of what we thought of them. Joining me for this video we have UKGN Pad and Teru.
Hello.
Hi.
So before we actually get to the new games, we're just going to briefly talk about games that have come out in a previous month that we've only just got around to playing. So in that instance there is Trinity Fusion, which came out in December, which is the game that you can see on your screen right now. Basically, it's a roguelike platform game that takes a lot of its inspiration from Dead Cells, and if you're going to take your inspiration from anywhere, then that's probably the game that you should be taking it from. It's pretty good looking, pretty entertaining. I have enjoyed it quite a bit, but it's obviously nowhere near as good as Dead Cells. Right, so the first game this month is the Monty Mole Collection, which came out on the Nintendo Switch on the 8th of January. And if you're anything like me, who grew up playing games on the Spectrum, then this is definitely for you. For only £6, you get Monty on the Run, Wanted Monty Mole, Auf Wiedersehen Monty, and then you also get the bonus games of Moley Christmas and... God, I can't remember what his bloody name is now. Sam Stote's game that was a spin-off title that wasn't very good, but the other four are great.
Brutal.
And I would definitely recommend it if you are of a certain vintage like myself.
I remember Auf Wiedersehen Monty quite well on the Commodore.
Where it gives you the Spectrum and Commodore 64 versions of each game.
Oh. Well then I shall buy it.
For the next game, we have War Hospital that came out on the 11th of January. This is from a Polish studio called Brave Lamb Studios. I know Teru has played this one.
It's based on the First World War, and you essentially are playing a commander who's in charge of a war hospital in London to begin with. I've not got too far into it because you are looking after soldiers who have been injured on the front. They come in, you have to organise your staff to look after them, to operate on them. You have to decide whether or not they are to go back to support the front lines. Do they go to, I guess, the administration head office to support there, or do you get to send them home? It is very in-depth. It's just missing that little bit of polish that you'd expect from a game of that type.
It looked like it had a bit of a similar vibe to This War of Mine, although obviously quite not as bleak.
No, This War of Mine is very different gameplay. It's like, no, this is a serious war game.
Yeah, so not Theme Hospital then.
Oh no, definitely not. Yeah, it's just a nicely put together game. It's just a little bit lacking in polish for what it is. But beyond that, yeah, I can't really fault it.
Okay, so for the next game we have Prince of Persia The Lost Crown, which came out on the 15th of January. And this is actually the first game that Ubisoft Montpellier have been in charge of the development of since Rayman Legends. And just like Rayman Legends, this is a really, really good entry in the series that it's from. I know you played this one a little bit as well, Pad. What did you think?
I thought it was very good. My issue was that it was Ubisoft again. You know, I've got an issue with Ubisoft not allowing you to play a game unless you've got accounts with them. So the fact that you can actually go through and play this game without having to sign up is great, and it was good.
Yeah, I think it's a very, very good Metroidvania. I'm not sure if it's a very, very good Prince of Persia game. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
it was good, but it just.
But no, as I'm getting further and further into Prince of Persia, there are more really good platforming sections and less combat. So it's probably morphing more into a Prince of Persia game as I get further into it. But I have really enjoyed every moment that I've been playing it so far. Even some of the boss fights, although they have got me a little bit frustrated, as you can imagine. They're not making me stop. So next game, which came out the day after Prince of Persia on the 16th, is Food Truck Simulator from Drago Entertainment. We actually got a key for this one, so that's why we were able to download it and play it. And I had a quick go on it myself and found it to be a little bit. It felt a little bit unfinished. I think is probably the best way to describe it.
What got me is there's far too many tutorials because they don't quite finish what they were saying beforehand before they skip on to the next section. So you order your food for the first time, it tells you to put it in the vans, put it in the refrigerator, or put it in the cupboards, etc. Push X, it'll auto-sort it.
Well, I did that. I pressed X to auto do it, and then it went, oh no, don't put your buns in the fridge. Put those in the cupboard. Did you not find that when you were driving around the city, that the draw distance was PS2 level?
Yeah.
with the way that it's like really foggy, like just on just at the top.
The
of the screen.
city reminded me of GTA 4. Drove to the next park, or drove to the first park, and then it teaches you how to cook. And when it was teaching you how to cook, it tells you, right, okay, get the meat from the refrigerator, put the meat on the grill, now go and get the bun. So you turn around, you've got to try and find the bun, you're finding the bun, you've got to put it on the chopping board, you've then got to start cutting it, and then you turn around and your burger's burnt. It doesn't teach you to look after the food. And then I turned around and it's completely burnt. And I was like, so I've got to bin that off now, get another one. And it's been like, it tells you that, burnt.
So you're not really. So you're not going to play the game again. Basically, it's basically what you're saying. Because
I might give it another go, but I think
I can't see me playing it again.
I want to go back to it and actually just ignore the tutorials. If
it starts popping up on your Xbox that that the game's had some updates, you're going to start loading it up just to see what those updates have done. Basically.
Yeah. I'll see what goes on.
Okay, so the next game on our list came out on the 18th of January, and this is Rising Lords from a developer called Whisper Games. And this is one that had been in early access for about 2 years until this full release on both PC and Xbox. And I know Teru played this one on a live stream, so take it away, Teru. How good is this game?
Pretty damn good. So you are a lord in a fictional country. The company that made it, I believe, is German, and on the live stream I am absolutely butchering the names of loads of people. I was saying the main character's name wrong throughout the whole thing, so I do deeply apologise for that. And it switches between a turn-based battle system. I really did like the turn-based part of it, and you've got your overview map where you develop the houses, so you need to make sure you've got your mines up, you need to make sure you've got a woodcutter going, and it's got a very nice cartoon style of artwork as well. In my opinion, the difficulty curve is a lot kinder than the most recent Settlers game, which I had an issue with. It's really nicely put together. They've clearly taken everything from the early access and polished it off very nicely, which is always appreciated. And yeah, it's just a really nice game to play. I've got no faults with it whatsoever.
Out on the same day as Rising Lords was Turnip Boy Robs a Bank from Graffiti Games. This came straight to Xbox Game Pass. It's the sequel to Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion, which is a game that I have admittedly never played, but I have played this one, and I found it to be pretty entertaining. But I also know that Pad has also played it. So what do you think of this one, Pad?
It was good, but it's very short. Also, one of the achievements glitched on me, just to point that out there. Twin stick shooter with a boss in each corner of the bank.
Well, I got up to the point where I killed the first boss, and then it all started to open up a little bit more. And I think that I've not really played it again since then. I thought it was fairly entertaining. It's a very basic looking game. Yeah. But it's not without its charm.
Some of the tasks that you've got to do throughout it can get a bit annoying, and then there's some towards somewhere in the middle of the bank. There's a group of people, and they all ask you to go and kill so many of a specific type of enemy. Those ones were a bit annoying because they take a bit of time to actually do. Other than that, yeah, I enjoyed it.
I think it's definitely worth a play because it's on Game Pass. I don't think it's a game that I would have bought. And on the subject of roguelikes, we move on to the next game, which is The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, which has added the no return mode, which is just like IO Interactive did with Hitman last year. They have added a roguelike mode with the latest update, basically. Had I not owned the game previously, and if I'd had to pay £50 for this, I would have been very disappointed. But because I could get it with just a £10 payout to get the whole updated version, I think that the roguelike mode is probably worth a tenner from what I've played of it so far. It doesn't change my opinion of The Last of Us Part 2. It's still a better game than the first Last of Us, but a worse story. Unfortunately, because my PS4 save file got lost, I have to play through the entire game again before I can get to experience the lost levels, which is another part that you get with this new version. It's a pretty pointless remastering. It doesn't need to exist in any way whatsoever. But if you look at it as £10 for a DLC that is a new mode, then that's worth it. The actual PS4 version of Last of Us Part 2 works perfectly fine on the PS5 and is already enhanced to run at 60 frames a second. You're probably better off just buying the PS4 version than buying the remastered version if you haven't played the game before. Mm-hmm. The next game that we have to talk about is Stumble Guys, which came out on the Xbox on the 23rd of January. Basically, with this one, it's a case of at which point does a game stop being a loving homage to another game and just become a straight, blatant rip-off. Because this one is just Fall Guys, but not as good. And with a really annoying piece of music playing in the background as you play it. Just play Fall Guys instead is the way I feel about this one. It's pretty pointless, to be honest, and I can't imagine that either of you two have played it as well. So
I've not played it. You did tell me that there was a few grinding achievements for it, which did interest me, but I've got that many other games that I'm doing at the moment. I've just not had time to even look at it.
So let's move on to the next game, which is Tekken 8, which came out on the 26th of January, and I'm so thankful to report that this is probably the best Tekken game since Tekken 3. It looks and plays like a proper Tekken game. I was really concerned prior to playing it because after everything that I disliked about Street Fighter 6 from last year, they were starting to talk about Tekken 8 in the same way, and it doesn't do any of the mistakes that Street Fighter 6 did. The story mode definitely takes its inspiration from what NetherRealm have done with the Mortal Kombat series, and there's a lot of cutscenes that lead straight into fights, and I like the way that it does that. It's probably not quite as silly and entertaining as what NetherRealm do, but because Tekken does tend to take itself a little bit more seriously. But the actual fighting is absolutely superb. I love the way that you get little tiny slow-mo bits before some of the more powerful hits. I'm not sure that I would pay 70 quid for it. Let me just put that out there. I am glad that I got it on rental, but I will definitely be picking it up when the price drops a little bit.
How often would you actually be willing to pay 70 quid for any game, regardless of how good it is? So
never.
Yeah, exactly.
Or, well, not since Street Fighter 2 on the SNES. And then move on to the final game that came out in January, which came out yesterday. This is Brotato, which is arguably one of the best titles that a game could ever have. I don't think it's quite in the same league as Gravity Badgers or Ninja Breadman, but it's definitely a good title. It's a roguelike shooter that doesn't have any shooting in it, just like Vampire Survivors. And I really liked the graphical style of it, but within 2 or 3 games I was just thinking, why am I not playing Vampire Survivors instead?
Yeah, I agree with you that it should be, well, Vampire Survivors is better. It is very similar to Vampire Survivors. I prefer the leveling up system on Vampire Survivors. I have played Brotato on the Switch and Steam, and now the Xbox has come to Game Pass.
I did notice that that it does only cost £4 to buy it if you don't have Game Pass, which is probably about right.
It was fairly cheap. Yeah, it was fairly cheap. I remember getting it on the Switch ages ago because I was trying, but I bought it because I was searching around for a game like Vampire Survivors. It's like a dull version of Vampire Survivors. Very dark, dingy, grey.
Why would you go for a dull version of Vampire Survivors?
It's just it's the artwork style. It's greys, whites, blacks. It's
The art style reminded me of The Binding of Isaac.
yeah. Gonna buy Spirit Hunters after you finish Vampire Survivors, then Brotato after that.
So that's all the games that we played in January. If you had to pick one of those games, which would be your favourite game of the month? Pad?
I would probably go with Prince of Persia for the better one.
I think Prince of Persia would be my choice for best one as well. And what about Teru? What's your favourite game of the month?
Probably Rising Lords out of the 2 new games that I've played.
Okay, excellent. Let's leave it there for this month. Thank you for watching. Make sure you give us a like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this video. And we'll be back at the end of February to talk about the games that we've played then. Bye for now.